What's happening, people, and welcome back to All You Can Eat Warriors, where we're back to break down everything that's been happening, all things Warriors, including men's, women's development. And I got my man back from Sydney, Australia, who's there at the game. Ash, how you doing, bro? Welcome back onto Wires Up TV.
Yeah, definitely good to be back home, brother. Sydney's awesome to go travel to. See the big city. It's definitely like 10 times as big as Brisbane is, and it's a crazy city, crazy town down there. Accor Stadium is absolutely massive. But it's great to touch down back at home and all that. Keep an eye out for the channel too, guys. I am working on another little vlog, like a TikTok sort of vlog thing. That will pop out soon. We got a public holiday tomorrow, so I'll try to do a voiceover for it and then put it up on the channel. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. And obviously, bit of a sad little end to the weekend there with the boys, but there was a lot of positives there too. With the women's squad and stuff. So we'll definitely get into that shortly, right?
Absolutely, and I want to just big shout out to everyone in the chat, man, especially channel members. Everyone that's come through is busy tonight, man. Looks like it's going to be a lot of talk. 52 of you guys in here. If we can get the like going up, guys, we'd like to get minimum 50s, hopefully hit 100 by the end of the show. So please hit that like if you are entering the door right now. Man, Ash, there's a lot to break down. What's awesome, though, is that you were actually at the game. You got the feel for the vibe, and maybe just share with us what the vibe was like being amongst the Bulldogs fans, with Brody and all that type of stuff. But just share with us your overall thoughts of the game. What were some of the goods, the positives, the bad, the ugly kind of thing from what you saw?
Yeah. Oh, bro, just getting out there, first of all, getting amongst it. I thought the Warriors fans turned up fairly well out there. Shout out to the Warriors fans. They're definitely hardy. Warrior Nation out there in full force as well, which is great to see, before the game. And I think that because of how wet it was, and we got general admission tickets. So in Accor, because they got such a big stadium there, you've got two parts of the stadium. You got general admission. You can go all the way back to the stadium. So when the rain started, we filtered from the front of the field. We filtered all the way back. And I think it added to the atmosphere as well, because obviously the amount of Doggies fans there was absolutely mental. And, because the Dogs are going so well, they've really got a massive supporter base. But, I thought that we turned out in force. I thought the emotion was running high very early. The women's got a really good win there. That they played really, really well. And then, come to the men's, I thought we started it was 20 minutes in, Tamade went down. That's when I felt like we went flat, especially after Lecker went down, where he ended up coming back later on in the contest. But when he went down, all that, I feel like, for us as Warriors fans, it went flat. It really did. It felt like the boys were pretty much just like, it's wet. Nothing's going our way. Honestly, just the Dogs, they had a point to prove in that one. So it felt like that out there. And shout out to the Dogs fan base. I don't usually get too frustrated and all that at a football game. I try not to anyway, but man, they can be real frustrating to get amongst it. And I was like, they whinge about everything. And I turned to my bro, Brody. This is a big one. And Brody, my best mate. And He always says Broncos fans are the worst fans of the comp or this and that. I'm like, I turned to him, I was like, brother, it's right up there with Broncos fans, bro. Honestly, it just is but it's amazing. That's what sport's about, and that's what supporting a team's supposed to be about.
I don't, man, and passion. Like you can't be passionate, man. It can be
Yeah.
annoying when they're rubbing it in and they're up by whatever it is, and then and you're complaining because you're not getting any calls, and then they're complaining because they
Oh,
get everything. It's like it's crazy there, but
yeah,
yeah,
we
it's
know the
good, man. You
story.
got to be amongst it, and unfortunate for our boys to what happened. But there's a lot to break down from them, man. What was the key? What was the moments? I mean, firstly, there was a change from Tamari, from Boyd to Tamari. Talk a little bit about
Mm.
that, but also what was the your thoughts on the game in terms of did we let ourselves down, or was it just too good of a team that we're up against? Too many injuries. I mean, we had HIAs. It happened throughout. So yeah, let me know what you think, man.
Yeah, I think first of all, touching on the dropping of Tanner Boyd before the game, I was kind of when I saw it, I was like, all right, trying to get into Webby's head or why to do so, and we've been touching on it for the last couple of weeks of Tanner Boyd's maybe downsides to his game, like especially defensively. Like we did notice in that right edge, a lot of people obviously pointing out that our right edge is getting stripped apart quite a bit of the time, and instead of focusing on the last man in defense, which is usually Dallin Martini-Zelezniak, kind of dissecting what's going on, sort of more so inside of him and finding out that Martini Corday holding on reads, Tanner Boyd becoming a spot and him holding on reads. And I really do think Webby came into a mindset here of like Viliami Kikau is a big edge back row coming into this weekend. They run their best shape down their left hand flank. That Tanner Boyd was definitely going to be a spot, and Tanner probably needs to fix up his defensive reads overall. He's not the greatest tackler in the world either. He tries his best with a smaller body, but I think that's the reason why we end up going that way. And, to be fair, to start off the contest, me and Brody were even talking to each other about it, and we were like, yeah, all right, Webby's vindicated here, because I thought within the first 20 minutes, we end up getting ahead with 2-0 and then end up being 4-2 for that period there too, 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it was.
The Dogs did have a bit of a period on our try line, and I thought Tamade was defending really, really well. I think it was bouncing off reads. He was shutting down a lot of shape going down the outside, and even the play for him to try and shut down that play, getting up in Galvin's face. But unfortunately, his technique got caught and he ended up getting knocked out in that period. That's something that we did lack there with Tanner Boyd in there, and that's why I think Webby was vindicated in some aspects. But then looking in hindsight, as it's probably been pointed out multiple times in the chat already, Burton's kicking game was a major facet in the game as soon as Tamade went down. Not to say Tamade's kicking game would have held up with Burton's kicking game, at no way. But we would have had a two-pronged kicking attack with, obviously Tamade Martin and Shino Harris-Tavita. It ended up being just Shino Harris-Tavita, who doesn't have the greatest boot in the world, the biggest boot in the world, comparatively to probably the biggest boot in the competition. And Tanner, when you look back at it, you go, well, Tanner's boot can contend with that. It would have made it a little bit easier. But then again, hindsight's a beautiful thing in that sort of aspect. And I think the major key for me, watching the game, and again, it goes down to when the fans started to feel flat as well. And I think when the boys started to feel flat, I thought we were right into it, 20 minutes in. Tamade went down and it was kind of like, oh, fuck, we'll see what we can do, see what we can conjure up here, just hold up defensively. And then the guy to bring him off was Lekau Lasima to come on. They scored their try through Viliami Kikau off the next play when Tamade went down, which, I have my argument to where the game should have probably been stopped because of the head knock and stuff like that. But anyway, continuing on. He goes down within, after about an error from Jacob Karaz within the period there with a head knock. And I felt like the boys, before that was the 2020 kick from Matt Burton too. So it felt like just a culmination of these things just going bang, bang, bang. And it felt like the boys did go flat and go within themselves. I thought their discipline started to unravel. I thought our ruck started to unravel. And we just were really unable to really, regather it. I think that Webby, probably his mistake in this one as well is probably for me. I did kind of want to see Sam Healy probably a little bit earlier. I probably wouldn't say as early as what people were saying, but I did want to see a little bit more spark there to try and spark something. But at the end of the day, we're playing a top four side that wanted to prove something at a core stadium. So it's a little bit of both, right? It's a little bit of, I think we were down for sure. It did look like we were running out of steam for sure again. But also the Dogs are a very good side, and they played like they wanted to, obviously a point to prove, to beat a top 8 side this year and also this time, and also win a game in the wet, which they've struggled to do so.
Yeah. Do you think as well that there's just I was looking at a lot, and it's a tough game in the weather. There's Lusick and Marata out there, and the contact isn't the greatest. Credit to the Bulldogs. I thought their starting front row with Bailey
Yep.
were solid, contained us. Um, then on the attacking side, it's a bit slow. Player balls with Jacko Ford. You could argue Bulldogs playing in the ruck. Probably, I think teams have been doing that a bit. But do you just think that we're just missing a Barnett and just missing that kind of, I suppose, solidity in the middle as well? It just seems as though we kind of started off well, and but then yeah, as you say, with the Tamaiti element, but also just the forwards in general, the six again's coming at the wrong times. Do you think we're just really on either on fumes, or we're just really pushing the depth chart to like a Freddie Lussick who may not be at the level that we need right now?
I think it's like a little bit of that for sure. I think we're seeing a gulf of class between our hookers at the moment as well, like Wade Egan and where he kind of sits in like the framework of our team. I was talking to you
Yeah.
backstage, seeing him being named this weekend, and hopefully he does get into play because there's still risk around or doubt whether he will play this weekend as well. But Wado, within that period that we started to go, people would argue we started to go flat. We had the big Tigers win with Tanner Boyd. Wade Egan was a big proponent to that as well. We
Yeah.
had a Knights win where he was actually a really big piece to that Knights win. If we do remember, his try got taken away, but he had a really solid game in that outing there
Good.
too. The starting minutes of the Titans game where we went out to a 10-0 lead, he was a main proponent of that 10-0, as we do remember as well, the speed around the ruck. I think ever since he's gone down too, it's felt like we've just taken away a lot of what we have. Like if we had one of Mitch Barnett, Luke Metcalf, Wade Egan, it would feel so much better. You know what I mean? It just feels like, unfortunately, we are just dealing with, I know people argue, injury tolls. A lot of teams are dealing with injury tolls, but these are important key pieces, especially going against a top four side. That if you get stripped away, like, any other side, they would struggle, especially in the wet and in conditions. So, I do feel like there's starting to be shown that there is a gulf in between some players, and that will take time before that evens itself out. Like, we're talking about these young kids that are stepping up so quickly in their development. Maybe they are, getting stretched out a little bit more now, being a longer season is what it is in first grade instead of playing your 20 to 30 minutes every so often. Now they're getting put into proper reps, and they can only grow from this from here.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's big demands, but it's awesome to see that we're blooding them in. It's always going to benefit us later down the track, but we do need those points now. And Egan, I agree, man. I kind of came to that conclusion too. I said the middle, even the goal line attack is just without him giving that structure and kind of set up and momentum. We just look all over the shop. So yeah, for me, no Egan, no win. I'm going to put it down to that based on all the other injuries surrounding it. So I'm hoping he plays this weekend. What do you make of the referee, man? We try our best to be as fair squared as we can. We don't
Yep.
get too high load on the referees. But the six again can be kind of skewed in how it's used. We know G. We've talked about G all year. How trigger happy he is on the six again. Loves the sound of his own voice, or you know what I mean. So, what did you make of that performance from G, and did it impact the game significantly, or to what extent?
I would argue it didn't impact the game to a major. I thought overall the doggies were a better side. So overall, I think that they would have won this contest. Especially with what happened to us with boys going down left, right, and center. Like they were going to win this contest. Even like I feel like we would have gave a good contention there if we had a full deck of cards of Tamaiti and all that playing. Not even talking about if Mitch Barnett or Luke Metcalf or anything. We had any of those boys, but I reckon it would have been tight. But just due to what we had to contend with players going down, I think that's what stretched out the class there of a top four side with the Dogs. With the referee, though, there was stuff that you could just argue, like if it sucks being a Warriors, especially because like the the club or the fan base has had a reputation for, calling out referee indiscretions, even though we do get hit with it so badly at times. But some of the ones, like, there was like, drop balls that weren't getting called at moments where I could see at a core stadium from miles away that just weren't getting called. There was, the high tackles. The one, like when we were going for a penalty shootout there, where it felt like it was going to be one of those games. It was 2-2, and then Tane Tuapicki's drop out that went a little bit too far and went out in the full. Those ones go either way, whether they get called for a penalty right in front. For that one to go to 4-2. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even Jackson Ford's high tackle for the penalty probably slipped up a little bit high. I think, like, when looking back on it, rewatching the game, I was like, when Tomate went down, we've argued the point, like, I've come on here and you've said, like, why did the game stop with Beau Fermor's, moment in the Titans? And I was like, head knock, I guess. Like, that's, it sucks, but momentum had to stop because of a head knock. We had another one, was it last week's game? Where all the momentum stopped on our end because it ended up being was supposed head knock or injury there that they had to stop the game for that period. We had to argue if Leckers, should have deserved the stopping of the game, right? That one was Tomate Martin. It was a head knock. Like, he was out. You saw him out. As soon as I was watching the play, then I saw him get up and he had wobbly legs. I was like, that's gone. And then they scored off that play, and I was sitting there going like, well, if that was us, more than likely we would have, the game would have stopped at that period and the momentum would have been stopped. And, to be fair with Doggies fans, like, fair bit, like, they scored off it, all goods. But I don't know, bro. I don't want to become that guy because as I said, at the end of the day, it didn't impact the game as much as what probably it would be spoken about in that sort of sense. But it's still just an annoyance that happens, all the time in the back of my head going like, well, if, you know what I mean? And arguing, like, it gets the bang going at the end of the day,
I mean, there was, and I get people in the chat saying, oh, don't blame the rest. I get that. I mean, we're not blaming. There was our own fault, man. There was I think there was, Dallin did a drop, incorrect play of the ball. RTS dropped a sitter, no pressure on him. Yep. So, we've got ourselves to blame as well, man. It's
exactly.
I don't want to take that away from the referee either. But, man, let's just quickly get into... Just want to talk about just quickly Fish. Is he a victim of just a poor quality around him? Is he doing his job? People were saying, that his level isn't what we need, and he's not performing to the standards. There's a lot of that type of chat, and they're saying, you can't quantitate the impact off the field and how important that is. Where do you stand on it with Fish's performances? Is it a quality issue around him? Is it himself, or what did you maybe see at the stadium as well that confirmed to you whatever you think it may be?
Yeah, I thought Fish had hot and cold moments in this game. He's had that only a couple of times this year. I think for the majority of it, I think Fish has been a really good buy for us, and like he's been a real consistent play. He's not a front rower. We've always argued he's not a front rower that's going to blow your socks off with the stats, and he does all the little things that just casual fans don't look at. Like they don't notice it, and they'll never notice it, unfortunately. But in this game wasn't his greatest game either. So that will obviously, fire up the those sort of fans that will chat about, is he even good enough? He's not Adam Finnell-Blake, and sure, he's not Adam Finnell-Blake in that area, but he's a leader in a different sort of sense. And he with the full deck of cards of what we had this year, we were running to a top four. We were praising what they were doing off the field. We were saying Fish was a major reason to this, right? I don't see after he's just come back from an injury that we're just going to throw him out after one or two games here in this period. When to be honest, when he went down, there's no one that's going to be doing his type of level of defensive movements and stuff that he's doing out there. He tried his best to try and swing the game here. Stephen Crichton even won a nice penalty of a little bit of his frustration of trying to win over the ruck and little dark arts that he does in his game, right? That we all love too. But unfortunately, this is what happens in rugby league. I guess when you have a game like Fisher Harris and hot and cold, we forget about what he did in the past. We only just look at it for the moment and just say, well, is he even good enough for what we're doing right now? When 100% he was good enough for the majority of the year. He's been good enough to where when he fell out of lineup, we were calling that's a major injury for us. this game didn't change that for me. I think he's been incredible this year, and I think that we'll see the fruits of this a little bit later on when we are continuing to build for the future.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of quality around him. Like I know Jacob Ford gets a lot of praise for his work ethic and thing, but there is a quality in terms of his running output, style. There's a reason why he hasn't gotten the Origin call ups or whatever. I'm not dissing Jacko, but there's levels to prop play, and I suppose Fish has been around one of the top tier of you got Yo there, you got Leota, you got Martin. Who is the other ones that they've had? Sorensen. I'm trying to think of all the kick out they've had. He's had such good quality around him. Mitch Kenny, Api Coruscant, that hasn't been much dip, and as long as he plays his part, everything else, every other cog does theirs to a high level. There should be no issue. There is just a little bit of that happening around him that I think, and he can't accommodate for that. The AFB couldn't accommodate for it, for what happened last year too. I mean, even though his running prowess is still his defensive efforts cost us and others around him too. So there's only so much props can do, man. And I stand with you, bro, on that. I think there's just you can't really. You're working with a Lussick around you he's just come back from injury. He's been playing cup. You got Marata who's got his issues. That's how I see it.
There's a lot of things that kind of mix into this, bro. We've got young kids like Dimitrik and that are stepping up to a bigger level this year, as you said. So they're learning they're learning how to reserve their bodies throughout the season. There's a longer season here, like Lekar having bigger periods that he's getting through this year too, and you're starting to see somewhat of a toll getting taken out on him as well. Tanner probably had his lower game over the weekend as well. I thought with a couple of errors and ill discipline in his game there too. We know what Jacko can bring statistically, and out there he's just going to work like a dog. But, I think that Fish without like a Barnett to have that real two-prong, defensive moving type of prop room, it does hamper him. And, Fish is not a one-man band. Like he's never been a one-man band as in statistically, when someone goes down, he's going to punch out 160. He's never been that player. He never will be that player. He's like, Shane Webke was never that player. Petros Semasiva was never that player. But what they did was more intangible stuff on the field that helps them stick into a contest and hold into a contest. Just unfortunately on the weekend, coming back of injury, he probably got a little bit wrong. And he doesn't do that too much, honestly. Like I think that overall, more times than not, he's had very, very good performances for a prop forward. Again, I go back to, what a proper prop forward is supposed to be doing is not what people actually see there on the football field. Everyone, Payne Haas is just this statistical anomaly. Statistically, he's incredible. All that sort of stuff. But it's all the little things that a prop does that ends up being one of the great ones. And this is the reason why he had 4 rings on his finger, is because he did all the little things. There's a reason why he carried the Kiwis to a Pacific Championship, because of the little things. Warriors fans don't need to be forgetting about that. He is what he is, and we should be loving it for what he is. So, again, I don't think he's been a bad signing in any sort of way, or even looking at maybe a mid-tier signing, if that makes sense. I think he's been very, very good for us.
Yeah, very, very good call. This is a big one. Was Tanner Boyd dropped? I'm trying to. People are asking questions, and Webby made comments that Tamaire worked over Tanner. So, and if so, why? This one confuses me, because all the chatter was that, we've got this great depth, and we've got Tanner Boyd who can do this amazing long kicking game, and he does. He has all those skills. We've seen some data on him that defensively he has some issues. You could argue he wasn't clutch in the moment. I don't think that. I thought he was great in the Knights to put up his hand and go for it.
Yep.
But it came almost out of the blue that Tamaire replaced him, and then Webby backed the decision, and then and I mean that is that a vote of no confidence, and does that say that he's on the way out, or was that just purely for that game? Hey, Tanner, we've got Kikau on you. You're not the best defender. We need a Tamaire who can do a better job. Or is this actually, bro, that you're not at the level that we need moving forward? Sayonara type stuff. Where do you see this kind of decision because it kind of rocked me. I was like, what? That doesn't seem logical in any sense. But Webby's made that call.
Yeah, I think that it just come down to I do think it was drops. I think that if Tamati Martin didn't get head knocked over the weekend, Tamati Martin would have been the halfback for this weekend as well. I think it would have been sort of a period of till Tanner probably fixes those little defensive stuff in his game. It's very similar to what happened with Ali Leotoa before Ali Leotoa got injured. He actually got dropped from all the rumors due to some defensive deficiencies in his game as well. As I kind of touched on before, if we want to break down video in future or if people want to really figure out what the differences too, there is a major difference between the two. Tamade was bouncing off his reads really quickly. He kind of figured out what the defense was throwing up and he wasn't too scared of contact because he's somewhat of a bigger body. He can get his body in front and do a job. That's probably the one thing we are missing with Luke Metcalf not being there as well. Luke Metcalf actually had some really nice moments defensively and he helped us out in that area, especially the scramble defense there. A lot of everything else about Tanner's game you can't complain about. He's definitely got the bigger kicking game out of all our halves for sure. I think attacking wise, he hadn't been that bad to be honest. Like I think that I was quite impressed with a lot of his movements and stuff. But we all could agree that the better playmaker is probably Tamati Martin. The better kicker is Tanner Boyd. The better defender is Tamati Martin. So out of all those options, I think that the Webbies kind of weighed it up and said we're on a couple of game losing streak. I think we need a little bit of a reinvigoration, a little bit of energy there, and what better than a gunslinger that's willing to go out there and die on his sword of Tamati Martin that defends with his heart. I don't think he was worried about too much of a kicking game there. He would have thought that him and Chanel would have done enough to get him around the park like Luke Metcalf did, but it didn't end up that way, unfortunately. Oh, bro, I'm dying.
Have a drink of water, bro. You get a frog in your mouth. Those just up there, man.
The yelling on the weekend. But you get what I mean, right? I think that overall it was a dropping due to just defensive performance. And I'm not too sure if that's fully fixed yet. So we'll have to wait and see on the weekend to see if he's improved in those little areas. It's been something that's been in his game since the Titans days. It's something I pointed out with his video, my video on who should be the half this year to start off the season. Tanner Boyd had been targeted than more of the halves in the competition, defending for the Titans, coming to us, he was a spot. He gets attacked more than anyone. Then, you'd rather run at Tanner Boyd than Chanel Harris-Tavita. Let's put it that way.
I think that's the argument of people. I think, and credit that we had these arguments many a time. Long kicking game. It's the be all and end all of a halfback. To an extent it is. But the biggest role in the job, I think, in Webby's system of a halfback is defensive work. That's a very big part of it. Mm-hmm. I think Metcalf actually got the balance right. If you looked at a lot of Metcalf's defensive work, he was on a spot in the field for the majority. And yeah, probably, he had consistency in the period he was there. He moved off his reads very well. That's my only thinking I can come away with is and say that Webby said, yes, you got a great kicking game, all those organizing elements, but I just can't have you being a spot on the team. That's all I can come up with. And I'm not trying to say that Tamati is better than Boyd as a halfback, whatever, but it just seems as though from Webby's decision making that he must have this view that you have to be defensively sound. And I can only say that because when Metcalf played, he was defensively sound throughout his tenure, and that added to his already good skill set of decent kicking game and good X factor play. That's where I see why Webby's gone for that. I can't see anything else apart from that, really.
No, and when we have these arguments, as I touched on before, I'm not even arguing. Like Tanner's attacking game's fine. Like it's good. Like it's very good in some aspects, right? Like as we discussed, like his kicking game's the best that we have out of all our halves. Like even better than Luke Metcalf's of that period. But Luke Metcalf's, like this was my argument last week when I was talking about, we're seeing the differences between a Luke Metcalf and a Tanner Boyd here in a halves jersey is Tanner Boyd is a good halfback. Like he goes out there, does his job. He's a does his job halfback. His deficiency is defensively, and that's the one thing that probably separates him between Luke Metcalf. And Tamati Martin on that end is like playmaking-wise, I think Tamati is a better playmaker, especially with his passing game, how he runs deep into the line, he creates space for his outside men. Tanner does that as a good click as well. But I think defensively, Tamade probably has him in another level there too. We saw that last year where Tamade was one of the better defensive halves that we had at our club. So, I really do think that's the way that Webby attacked this one. But as hindsight, bro, I think Webby got it wrong in the general of like, if we're looking at like wet weather footy, a kicking game, Tanner Boyd probably should have been there for sure. But before the game, if it was a dry track and all that, I couldn't argue if Webby would be like, no, like I think Tamade Martin would have been able to do a job to get a win. We were able to do that last year and go on a run with Tamade Martin in 7 last year. Why weren't we able to do that again? You know what I mean? Why couldn't we do that again? We had arguments of saying Tamade Martin was one of our best 7s and we put Sean Johnson back in the 7 jersey last year, right? Like, so it's not even like it's just a big jump for me. I think it was more of a Webby just going, Tanner, this is what you need to work on for sure. And he was going to keep him out until he fixed it up. And unfortunately for Tamade, he got knocked out.
This one here, there is no but without a long high bomb kicking game side struggle. Check the halves that won the... If I know Nathan Cleary's won the last 4 comps and he has a great kicking game, but he's probably one of the best defensive halves too. So you gotta weigh up the two together. Yes, you can have a kicking game, but if that halfback can't defend, it's gonna be that's the tricky part, and that's where I think Metcalf has that balance. He has those two. Yep. You got a Tanner Boyd, as you're saying, he's got that kick, he's got the organisation, but he's just getting targeted defensively. Webby's weighing it up, thinking, "What do I do moving forward?" That's kind of the thought behind it, I think.
Yeah, and again, like overall, this is like I don't think this was the main reason. Like overall, I thought we were going to be up against the Dogs side over the weekend. Like people making these wild calls after going up against a top 4 side in the wet over in a core stadium where the Dogs come off a loss. Like it was all going to go a similar way. We were all hopeful that we're going to come out with a win, and I think we all predicted that we're going to come out with a loss anyway, even with Tanner Boyd in that jersey. Like, is anyone in this chat saying that, like, with Tanner Boyd, that we're going to win that game over the weekend? I've put your hands up and say it. But overall, I think either way, we're up against it, and I think the majority of it is Tamade never got to fully show out, like, the ability of maybe Tamade could have done something that we never seen, right? Maybe he could have gone out there and even did what he did last year and actually won us a game out there in the wet weather. But in 20 minutes in, he got knocked out. And what do you do when your halfback gets knocked out? Like, that's just... There's no team in the competition out there. And guys, put your hand up if you can tell me a team in the competition with their starting halfback getting knocked out is going to come out against a top 4 side like that over the weekend in the wet. Tell me one. Like, tell me one, honestly. Yeah. If Tanner Boyd was in that same position, we'd still be screwed.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not... I think it's not that Tanner Boyd's bad. I actually am surprised by why they didn't go with Tanner Boyd for that thing. But that's my only reason. You can come back to defense. That's all I can put it down to. That's up to the coach. That's Webby's decision making, and that the fact that he's extended to Whitey as well. That's my concern for Tanner. What is the next step for him? Does that mean he no longer is he behind Tim Mighty in the pecking order? What do you think that is like? Because Luke's not coming back to April, May next year. Mm-hmm. Are we saying that Tamide is going to be the starting half moving forward, or what do you think is going to be the decision there?
I think that it's probably going to change towards that way until Tanner Boyd fixes his defensive deficiencies in Webby's eyes, right? This is what I'm saying. It's more so through Webby's eyes. And he has more knowledge than any of us put together, right? He sees his boys left, week in, week out. We know how diligent he is as a head coach. So he's not doing this off of like no, understanding of the game. So, it's, we shouldn't be over here thinking that we're better in that sort of aspect, right? But I starting to think now that, like, if Tamade was healthy, he would be back in there this weekend. You know what I mean? He would be back in there next weekend. And I think it'll be all the way up till Tanner Boyd fixes that one issue in his game. Because it is a key part of Webby's system is defense. So at the end of the day, I think that's just what it is.
It is what it is, people. I know the Tamade fans won't like that. But he's going to be around for another year, which is crazy.
He's not a bad half. That's the thing. None of them are bad halves. None of them are bad halves. That we can argue about little deficiencies between all of them. But, like, at the end of the day, like, when your halfback gets knocked out, I don't think, we should be going back and say it was a bad decision. Like, I thought Tomato was doing a fairly good job in that 20 minutes there, and if we was able to play out the full game, we never know what we would have came out to. So for me, it's not a big really like it is a talking point, but it's not really something to sit on because I think that the other parts of our game, especially ruck defense and ruck manipulation and stuff like that, we're definitely at a bigger low than actually talking about half play. At the end of the day.
Yeah, man. It is what it is, bro. And look, everyone that we've got, they're good. They're good. They have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. Look, I was probably a little bit harsh on CHT. I just, and he had no one to work off. I said he didn't have much creation, and that's probably unfair when you add into all that was around it. So, but he had two knockdowns, charge downs. So everyone has a bad game, but doesn't mean they're bad players. But I'm just trying to say, like, every player has their flaw. But to have that depth, at least, like, for me, getting Tanner, with Tanner this week, I'm confident we can do a job. I think we can do a job. And we're just all about getting those wins and getting over the line. So let's see what happens. But, man, let's get into this team list. There's a lot to break down. Just quickly, can I get everyone to hit that like button? We're just at 38 likes. If you can get us to 50, that would be great right now. Appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Look, pretty much unchanged back five. Tane at the back. Chan's still at center with CHT and Tanner Boyd. Then you've got Wade Egan, who's back. Let's keep our fingers crossed, man. He's so important. Lecker comes in for Catewell. Did you see the HIA for Catewell? I don't think
I thought he came back on after it though. He had it strapped up, but it may have been lingering. But double check with me in the chat too, guys. I was so sure he came back on later in the game, but I do remember the head knock as well. So we were dealing with it.
Yeah,
we were dealing with it.
Man, we had so much happening in that game. Sam Healy, for everyone that's been crying for Sam Healy, he is coming off the bench. So we will get a good glimpse at how that will look. At the moment, we've got EIT. Great for EIT to come in and get another cap with Dimitrik and Tanner Stowell-Smith. Ash, what do you make of that squad? It's best we've got right now. We're getting the maximum we suppose we can get out of everyone. But specifically, if you had an Egan and a Healy rotation, people that have been dying to see that are finally going to get a chance to see that. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I'm excited, bro. I'm very excited. So, as you said, the boys are definitely battered and bruised. We can definitely see it out there. In that game when it got into the harder moments, we saw the boys, somewhat out on their feet in areas. So they'll need a big lift here. And I'm sure being back at home and a couple of different players coming in, I think there will be a little bit of a lift. I think Wade Egan's so vital for us in this game for him to return. As I touched on before, when we even going back on the discussion with like Tanner Boyd and all that sort of stuff, Tamani Martin, all that. Tanner Boyd was 2-0 with Wade Egan as his number 9. Could have been 3-0 if that 10-0 start with the Titans end up coming home. So we wouldn't even be having this discussion between Tanner Boyd and Tamani Martin. So that probably is one for you guys that were, there in Tanner Boyd's camp, which, I don't think I'm not all the way out of Tanner Boyd's camp either. So it's,
I think he's good,
man. On that. So
yep.
I think that he's going to be a major part in that too, right? And I think his ruck recognition is better than any hooker that we have at the moment. And I feel like that little bit of energy that Sam Healy will, have out there. I think that can be a real good uptick for us, especially in moments where it does end up getting stale out there. I think that's the one thing I probably, with Webby over the weekend, I would have put Sam Healy on a little bit earlier to try and, get the boys up and ready, because we know that's what Healy brings. But unfortunately, that wasn't the way it ended up panning out.
Yeah, it's I'm interested to see this. People crying for, Egan needs to come off around 16, and you give Healy that 20 or however it may look. Look, it's kind of interesting because Wade's kind of a long minute hooker now. I think he likes to play that long minute game, and if you see his output. Like, I think of Wade giving those cutout passes to Murata and Dimitrik, on the outside. That's around the 50 to 60-minute mark. So if you're taking him out by then, he's still getting into some of his best work at that phase too. So there's a little bit of like, well, maybe we're in the flow and then you're messing with the flow type thing. But it's like definitely he needs a bit of that time off, in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah. And I hope people understand too, like, more than likely Healy's only probably going to get 20 to 25 maybe minutes in this game. I think
Yeah.
Egan, as you said, is going to be in there for long minutes. I think it would just be need to be real shrewd changing to when we're going to put Healy on, as you said, because Wade Egan likes to play the long game. He plays a game of chess out there. He wants to, set up things for later on down the track. And, it's really hard to do that with a nice hooker rotation there too. So we'll have to do that in a real smart way. And the other little positive to it is our defense in the middle probably takes an uptick there with Wade Egan back and Sam Healy. It probably is a well-known thing that we were losing a ruck for a little period there too. And I think those boys sort of help it out there too, being some decent defending hookers.
The other thing, and this is again, I think this is like a short term. I think Tane, people, it's short termism. A lot of this stuff is short termism. But CNK at center, Tane at fullback. I thought Tane, it was a tough night for him. He had a difficult job. CNK as well. He was honest. He had to move once that injury happened. His relationship with those edges was difficult, and I think Pompey actually came in on because he just didn't know what CNK was going to do.
100%
with Kiko on there. So it just messed with everything. But from that position with Chance there, look, we've got no imminent Leotoa or anything right now. Is that still okay? I suppose we have to deal with it. Tane at the back, I think he'll lift up again. I think he's just one of those players. He's going to have a tough night. The Bulldogs were kicking early. Do you think that way still? Because I feel like, look, everyone has a bad game or tends to have a poor game, then they lift up again.
Yeah, Chance is the best option we have at centre at the moment, other than Kurt Capewell, who's not in our team right now. You could chuck in Eddie in there as well. But I think that, unfortunately, this is the position we're in right now. As you touched on, Tane's the game didn't suit Tane over the weekend. It probably more so suited CNK at fullback, and people would even argue in that camp. But those same people that are arguing in that camp are also the people that call Tane Chuapiki into fullback to start with in general. So it makes no sense in that sort of sense. So. I think that there will be an uptick, especially being back at home after the loss, in the rain. I think the boys will definitely get up for this one. I think Chance will probably look at a lot of things that he did in that game. But again, with mixing and matching and whatever happened out there, it's kind of like it's really hard. What do you expect him to do to get switched into a different position where he's not going to get a lot of time there? There's different reads, being in the half that you got to pretty much call out a lot of the shape that's coming at you and kind of figure it out. Chance has not been put in that position too much. So at the end of the day, I think, I think the boys will step up this weekend, and I think we'll see a little bit of an uptick there from output of like Chance and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think back at home, like these wet games, we're just not doing too well. And, and Mount Smart, it's a very dewy place to play in. Just feel we've been lacking our speed. How we kind of, when we're on a dry track, we're really hitting our spots quickly, quick play the balls. But when we're in that kind of a wet game, it kind of seems as though we're just struggling a bit. But look, it's the best we got, and I'm just thinking another bit of time under the belt in their positions, they can just build some confidence. This is a good game to like target. Like you're on a 3-game losing streak. Let's just get this one over the line. We nearly had the Dolphins. Didn't happen. Bulldogs are better. That's okay. Let's just get this one over the line.
100%.
But even with Tanner Boyd coming in, I think that's going to be good. I don't think there's any drop off. If he's a pro, he's a pro. He'll get us around the field. His kick, his goal kicking is always great.
Yep.
All those things. So who knows? Maybe getting the drop will lift him up again. He'll just give that extra effort. So let's wait and see how that comes about.
Well, we were touching on too, just quickly before we jump off it, there's a reason why Tanner Boyd stayed at the Warriors when he wasn't getting any sort of run with us. So obviously Webby's a really good communicator in the way he does things here, and he really understands when the boys need a little bit of a kick up the arse or whatever they need to do, and he understands those boys will turn back and have an uptick. And I think Tanner Boyd will do a very similar thing. I would have been happy to see Tanner Boyd there or Tamati Martin on the weekend, either way. Whoever's there, they've got to do a job for that Warriors jersey, and I'm sure that he will, bro. And I'm sure that he's not going to take it. He's not going to sulk on anything. He's a professional. He's the ultimate professional. Webby's already touched on. He's one of the best trainers at the club, so I'm sure that he's going to work really, really hard to fix up his issues and play a really great game. And this is his opportunity to keep that 7 jersey all the way up till, right? As we touched on before, if he's going to want to do it, prove it to us on the weekend. Just do it, and I'm sure he will.
Yeah. The other thing with Capewell out, Liquor comes back in. Is Liquor just getting a little bit? I suppose he's the guy though. He's always been called on from pretty much this whole year. When Capewell was out for Origin, he had to step up. I suppose it's just part of the growing pains. I mean, he's not playing bad. He's not doing anything crazy. But is it just sort of like, does he look a bit tired? And how do you think he'll go on their left edge? I imagine he's going to play left edge. Yeah, Marata will be on the right.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how he goes this weekend. Obviously, the last 2 weeks have been pretty up and down for him in moments, right? Like, he got called out for the laying down on the field, that sort of stuff when he was cramping up. It just shows that he's had such a long season. He's still such a young bloke. Like, I can't begrudge him for that play, with the Dolphins, even though Cooper and all that. And we already discussed about that. Like, people don't know what maybe he was going through in that game if he had ultimate cramps and stuff like that. It is what it is, right? In that game over the weekend, he had a head knock. I think he was in through the walls. I think he ended up getting a couple of head knocks in that game. So hopefully he's okay to play. But I'm right there with you. I think that he's had a very long season this season, probably longer than what Webby actually even envisioned for him. But we're at a point now where we can't. Like, it's as we all say, it's next man up mentality, and we just got to find a way. And I think Lecker will find a way.
I think so, man. I'm hoping so. There's just a few guys, like even Aaron Clark. I know he's an amazing player. He's just like little things. Like the big tell for me is when you got a guy and you can't get him down to ground and you need that third or fourth man in. It's like that just little energy to like get someone to ground is you can tell the boys are struggling. And I just put that down to pure fatigue, and so it is what it is. Really. The bench looks pretty good again. Like Healy, he gets his opportunity. Toyava, saw in the chat someone said Toyava is one of the fittest forwards there apparently.
Yep.
Great opportunity for him. Dimitrik, I thought he had a good impact. I just want to see him with some better, like he'll grow into that ball playing role, but I just want to see him with some good options to play with. I think he'll round out into a good ball playing lock. Actually, Dimitrik.
Yeah, it's as good as a team we can name, especially a team that's running in the weekend without Mitch Barnett, Rocco Berry, Kurt Capewell, Ali Leotard, Jacob Laban, Tamade Martin, and Luke Metcalf, right? It's as good as a team we can name there. And I think all these boys have, they're first graders. They can play first grade at a high click. So there should be no excuses for them to go out there and perform at the highest level. And hopefully come out with the chockies this weekend. But I agree with you. Dimitrik, I was having a chat with Warriorholic very recently, and he was touching on like maybe, that ball playing 13 probably needs to come into play a little bit more. And out of all the guys that I've seen, especially watching him through development, through when he came to Redcliffe and even watching him through our juniors and New South Wales Cup, I think Dimitrik's the guy for that. I think he's got silky ball playing. We've already seen it a couple of moments this year, but people haven't fully seen the full facet of Dimitrik's game just yet. He's a very silky, he's a very talented footballer in general for a big body.
Yeah, I actually really like him. I think his engine, I know people are asking him to start. I think his engine's just got a little bit more work to do. But I'm happy with him. I actually don't mind him off the bench this year. I reckon just keep him in that spot. Let Jacko Ford do that most of that grunt work. His time will come, whether that's a starter or even a potential starting lock in somewhere in the future. So just let him cook, let him do his thing while he's there right now.
Yep.
Okay, let's move now to the Dragons. The Dragons on the rise of the Dragon. They've beat the Sharks, which I was happy with last week. And they've beaten the Raiders as well. They've had some scalps, top 8 scalps. How do you think they're going, Ash? Are they... Dragons is always a tricky one. Flanagan, how he gets them playing, it's not an easy one as such, especially in Wollongong, but this one's at home. But we shouldn't take anyone lightly.
No.
What have you been making of the Dragons thus far and how they've been tracking?
They're one of those sides in the competition, bro, that are, they're so close from being that top eight side. I'm pretty sure they're one of the worst teams within, like, losing games by a very small margin. So they've lost, like, I think it was 6 or 7 games by under a try. So they're playing close games. Fleno usually brings that to a club where he hold, like, his first whole thing is just go out there and just stay in a contest and try and find a way. And none bigger than the two scalps that have had running into this game over the Raiders and the Sharkies, right? So, the Raiders are, the Dragons are definitely finding a little bit of a hot streak right now. And I'm sure they're not going to want to drop that coming into this weekend. They've got a lot of talent across the park. Like, I'm really worried about, looking at that right edge to their left edge, right? They love playing that left edge sweep. They're probably the most silkiest left side sweeping team in the competition. Their block shape's incredible. When they run Luciano Leilua, they'll hit their lead on their block shape and let Luciano Leilua play a 3-on-2. Like, they hit face balls on, like, they tunnel ball out of Clint Gutherson. They've got 3 or 4 different ways of attacking that same shape. So that's what we're talking about when Tanner Boyd or whoever that half and that's that side, and Martini Corte, the edge back row on that side, has got to do extra work, because I know a lot of people continue to call out Dallin defensively, but it all comes from the middle. And it's all because of people like Luciano Leilua that have that, they can get over the top here or they can pass out the back. They can do it many different ways. So, and the Dragons have that in spades.
Yeah, they just got Luci Leilua side that scares me. I mean, they can really work, and currently where we're at, hoping Pompey, that solidifies a bit more with Tanner and Marata, but definitely something to be cause for concern. I had something where I noticed, and I was thinking about it. I actually wouldn't mind your thought. I was hypothesizing because I saw at times they were using Cook and Little so they went Cook as a ball playing lock type role, and then Little would be a hooker. I was just thinking, could you do that with a Sam Healy and an Egan actually, and bring Sam Healy on, and then because although Egan's a hooker, he knows the system very well. He knows the spots to be in, and maybe he could help to kind of generate some of that ball playing lock role to support a Dimitrik and an Aaron at times. What do you think there? Was that too far reach?
I think the last time, when Sam Healy came on for the Cowboys, he got played through as a 13 to start off with that on, and he looked out of place. Like, he really didn't feel accustomed to that role. And some people just don't, right? Like, I think Sam Healy's an out and out hooker. Like, he plays, majority of his game comes from that hooking role, and markers going down, taking the ball up and running and just creating offloads in that sort of sense. I think that maybe it can progress to that because he's a decent enough body to make it work. And if, as you said,
I mean Egan. Go Egan as a ball playing lock.
Egan as a 13.
Then push Healy, keep Healy at hooker, but have Egan kind of ball playing.
That could definitely work. As I said, if they want track, a tape of that, Damien Cook and Little is definitely, as you said, probably a good representation of that.
You have to have good go forward, obviously, though. Otherwise it's null and void.
I think the leg speed of Cook probably puts people in two minds. So at that 13 role, like thinking of Wade Egan as a 13, like Wado is a real, not to say he's a slow mover, but he's a silky sort of mover. He's not really I don't envision Wade Egan as a 13. Like, I automatically, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, Sam Healy playing 13. I didn't even think of Wado at 13.
Yeah, sure.
Wade's game predominantly is just all around the ruck. Like, I don't see him being that, first man, using players around him. It's just not his game.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, just hypothesizing, but it's good to actually hear that once you think about the leg speed, and then you're like, it isn't exactly what we're looking at. Let's go now into their bench. Pacific Tonga, they got a pretty big bench. They're all of that lady, is it Karen or whoever they go to for the Pilates?
Yeah.
Used to go there.
Shout out Helen.
Hammer yeah. What's her name?
Helen.
Helen. Yeah. Obviously on TikTok, it's got Pacific Tonga, Hammer Sally. Sua was going there. All the Dragons boys go there.
Yeah.
But what do you make of their bench? Because Pacifico, he gave us trouble last time. Pacific Tonga.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It was a big unit. Molo, there must be. I think that's Francis's brother. Yeah, Hamisele, a little active at dummy half. What do you make of that bench?
Yeah, strong bench, bro. Jacob Little's going to be a major watch for us because every time he comes onto the field, he lifts the Dragons tenfold. Like, I would argue that he's the better hooker at the moment for the Dragons. I think Cookie's so experienced. He does a great job to start out the game. But, at times I always argue back and forth whether Flano can get Little on there a little bit earlier because Little just breaks open the game. He's got that, he's like a mix between, honestly, like a Sam Healy and a Wade Egan in a way. Like, he's got some silky passing skills to him. But when he just wants to go, he's got speed, he's got power, he can just bust through the line. He's going to be a real tough ask. But then looking at those big forwards, Hamasele getting back from injury, big body, moves well. He's always had a lot of talent. And big Loco, bro, any man that's that size is always going to be a bit of a worry on a football field. And as you said last time, he actually caused a little bit of havoc too on his debut game. So just wait off as well. Hamish Stewart playing in the 12 jersey. There may be a couple of changes coming to this game, whether they bring Halengahu over as well, the young kid that's coming through Cup. He played last week. He's a Dave Fafita type of edge-back rower, a very interesting player. So there's a lot of different ways the Dragons can come over and definitely shock us. Like, they're not a bad outfit, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't take this lightly, and I wouldn't take it as an easy dub or anything. This will be a tough one. This will be a real tough one. And they have been all the last couple of weeks anyway. So let's get now into, guys, our combined 17. But just quickly, man, we've got 52 likes. Can we get that up to, we're going to aim for 100 now, people, before the end of the show. So if everyone that is watching that hasn't liked already, please hit that like and hit that subscribe. We're on the way to 3K. We're about 85 people away from hitting 3K. So if you have been stalking and watching and doing your thing, just hit that subscribe as well. It's no harm to you and help support us, man. We appreciate it. Okay, let's get to this combined 17. Just quickly, let me bring up my graphic. Fantasy. Here we go. Okay. Let me just get the players up, the player list. Thanks, Ash, for that. Okay. Now we'll go to left wing, fullback, then the other right wing. So left wing, I believe we have Roger versus Corey Allen.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd probably go Roger. I think just Roger's been just great all around. He did have that one drop. I was really disappointed. Just a lapse in focus. Tough night for him. Galvin was just kicking him behind all night. He just had to keep digging in. But is Corey Allen way better than him, though? I mean, Corey Allen's sort of kind of, he's around the place, but it has to be RTS, surely.
Yeah, I'm going RTS here, bro. Corey Allen's a bit of a tweener. Still does a great job there for the Dragons, and he's having a decent sort of year jumping back into first grade there too. But I think Rogers consistently for us shown his level. He's very, very high level winger. He's going to get a ton of meters out of the back end. I think it was all credit to the Dogs for what they did to him over the weekend. He still has those odd drops in him that he probably should clean up, being the experienced player. But I can't discredit Rog at all. I think he's the out and out better player there.
Yep. Tane Tuopiki versus Clint Gutherson. I think you got to go Gutherson, right?
At the moment, yeah. At the moment, yeah. And Tane does a lot of very similar things to Clint Gutherson as well. That somewhat a similar players. Tane's just a little bit smaller. One thing I got to credit Tane, and again, people will probably argue in the chat with the 40-20 of Birdo, but there's not much you can do in that sort of aspect, especially coming off an offload. But Tane's positioning off the kicks is absolutely incredible. He's actually really, really good at getting on his bike and getting to his points on the field. So I just want to credit Tane on that. But Clint Gutherson was the main man for NRL coaches to show fullbacks to be like, this is how you position yourself as a fullback. He does it probably better than nearly anyone, other than maybe James Tedesco is probably the other top player that's really good at positioning himself as a fullback.
He's a high quality fullback in that just tier underneath of the Tedescos and his work rate and his tidy. He's very tidy. I think as a fullback when I've seen him play.
And his work rate's incredible. The only thing that keeps him away from that top tier, bro, is his athleticism. And he's decent speed, decent everything, but he's not that's Tedesco.
Imagine if he had Tedesco's build, he would be one of the best all time. In terms of just when he had his skills set.
If you had Keanu Kinney's speed or whatever, he'd be the most lethal fullback in the league. But that's what's created him such a good for NRL coaches to be like, if you want to be a fullback, look at Clint Gutherson because he doesn't have the speed and all that. He's got the footy smarts to get himself to the positions. Like, Teddy kind of uses his speed to get to those positions more so than not. And I think Tane's very similar in that sort of aspect.
Gotta go Dallin now versus Sloan. How's Sloan been going? I know he's been injured and has he been in and out? He is quite a deadly player. He was a fullback, obviously. What's the go with Sloan?
Yeah, he's up and down, bro. He's got all the talent in the world, but he just has these brain explosions in him, and it just comes from his development, his time under Anthony Griffin. I don't think helped him at all, and I think he's still trying to figure it out himself. And again, like I've heard a lot of people say this, but I reckon a move away from the Dragons will probably help him tenfold overall. But he's just like, if people are worried about Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, like, when you watch Sloan's game and some of the defensive movements of him or some of the errors that he has in his game, you'd be wanting Dallin back on your wing as well. So it's got to be Dal.
You know what's funny, man? I've been watching, Dallin get chewed out for it. It's clear a lot of people don't watch a lot of NRL because you see a lot of the same things happening to other wingers. You're like,
Jason Saab, Greg Marju, Alofiana Khan-Pereira, who we're in the market for, Tyrell Sloan. Like, I can go on, bro. Honestly, it frustrates the hell out of me, but, it is what it is.
Because I was watching on the weekend, there's a ton of wingers just getting beaten. It's crazy.
It's just the systems, bro. That's what it is.
The systems, yeah. But it is what it is. Let's go now to centers. Left centre is CNK, I think. Is he coming up against Whiangai or Buchanan?
Buchanan's playing left centre at the moment. He played a great game over the weekend as well, but it's his first game. So just on that, I'd have to go Chance, but he showed a lot of good potential, Buchanan, bro, and he's definitely going to be a player to watch this weekend. He's going to come off a big high of last week, so I'm sure as a young bloke, he's going to continue that on.
So that's probably just just probably I'd say CNK there.
Yeah, it's only off the back of Buchanan's only just so young, bro. He's but very good little player, bro. He showed a lot of talent coming through the grades. But I didn't expect that out of him getting into first grade, to be honest. If you know a lot of Dragons fans, they'll call in Nathan Lawson stuff from and then he didn't kind of kick on in first grade is what they hoped. Buchanan's done a great job there in his first night out.
Isn't listed as a centre.
Just put him in there, then put Buchanan in there.
We'll put Buchanan in. Like, it's sounding
like put him in there.
Yeah, we'll put him in there. Okay, we'll go right centre now. It is Pompey versus Whiangai. I'm going. I mean, Pomps is has Pomps just a side note. Has Pomps' involvements just dipped because he's been moving around a little bit too much? It's not like he's been playing bad. It just seems like he's kind of been neutralized a little bit. I'm not saying that he's What do you think that might be?
I think so a little bit. I think that he's played a little bit of right edge, but I think he prefers to play on the left. But due to what we're going through right now, and we need a good center inside of Dal, I think that's the position where he's been put in. But Pompey's just your bread and butter center, eh? And it's really hard to go past it. I was actually really surprised he got the goal kicking over Tane over the weekend. That was one thing I was like when he first goal kicked, I was like, interesting there. So obviously he must kick him a little bit better than Tane in practice. So that must be just the way it goes. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Pompey in this one. Whiangai, he's a bit of a hit and miss guy.
He's like his brother, honestly. They're on their day, bro. If you ever watched them coming through juniors, bro, you would have thought they were going to be like the next greatest things. They were absolutely incredible through juniors. I remember watching them week in, week out going, these guys are going to be absolute freaks. And they are freaks. They're really great players on their day. Just consistency they've never got on top of just yet. And I think injuries have played a part in that.
Yep. Okay, let's go CHT now versus King Tonga. I think King Tonga is pretty good, isn't he? I mean, he has some good moments. I've seen some of his, he's involved in tries. He's quite active. Seems like his game sort of rounded out a bit. Yep. CHT obviously probably one of the leading 5'8" in terms of just consistency. Does his job. Who would you go with in this one?
People are probably going to argue this in the chat, but I think Shania Stavita at the moment is league above King Tongia right now. I think King Tongia is very, very good. He's just cracked into first grade. He's shown bits of ability, but he's shown some moments where he's had some really dumb young schoolboy errors. But that will take time to get out of his game. Chanel's, again, talking about Adam Pompey, Chanel's the bread and butter, number 6, great defensively. Decent running game. King Tongi is very similar in some aspects, but defensively he still gets found out in moments. So it'd definitely be an area where I'd like to attack over the weekend. But yeah, at the moment I just got Chanel, but it's honestly King Tongi is not too far off.
Okay, we'll go Chanel there. What about this is Tanner Boyd versus Flanagan? Has Flanagan played pretty much the whole season?
Yeah. Yep. To some Dragons fans,
disdain.
Disdain, yeah, as we all know. It's well public knowledge. But shout out to Kyle, bro. Like, I think that he's, I'd say, an overhated player in this competition. I feel like his career has just taken the craziest of turns. Like, if people remember when he came into the Sharks, they were honestly going to replace Sean Johnson with Kyle Flanagan. That was going to be the way they were going to go. Then he went to the Roosters. He was supposed to be the big guy, and I think it just absolutely killed his development. If anyone wants to see, why you don't want to get like someone like a Jet Cleary into, the halves right now, like the Kyle Flanagan story is one of the big key ones where he just killed his confidence and he could never regain that. And I think that's what's kind of happened to him. So he's had a decent year too. Like, he's had some good moments. This one's a 50-50 battle, bro. Like, I'd say kicking game, Tanner beats out Kyle Flanagan week in, week out. I think defensively, Kyle Flanagan does probably a little bit better in that area there too. Passing games, 50-50. Like, this is a close battle, bro. So I'd probably say it depends on what you want, really. Yeah. I just for our team here, I might sway Kyle Flanagan, but I think Boyd's good enough to take that one out as well. I don't want to have too many Warriors there at the moment either, but I think it's a good battle. It's 50-50 there.
Yeah. Oh,
I'll go Boyd.
I'll probably go Boyd just based on the home element. Just going to give the hometown team because they usually perform better at home. Just give them that.
Yeah. It's 50-50, bro. It really is fairly close because, again, both these guys have had hampered development throughout their career. Like, the Titans never helped out Tanner in any sort of way. And so did Kyle Flanagan with every other, football team that has touched him, really.
Okay, so we've got here, I'm going to go prop, lock, and the other prop. So the 4 props to choose from is Fisher Harris, Gula, Clemmer, and Ford. And your lock is Clark and DeBellin. Yep. So what 3 are we going with there? Who'd you go with?
And going back to the said before, I don't want too many Warriors, but I'm going to have to go. And again, I think David Clemmer's had a really good year for the Dragons as well. Enro Gula's probably hasn't kicked on the way I prayed him to, because I was actually a big fan of him from the Raiders. He used to be my anytime jam for the Raiders off the bench. Like, he'll always be at like $10 odds and you can get him for a snag. But I think it's going to be Fish, Jacko, and Aaron. I think they've been, class for the majority of the season. Dragons have had some up and downs there in the middle at times too. So I'll just sway the way of our boys. Fisher's defensive output, Jacko's just overall output as an attacking, just numbers. And Aaron Clark is probably the 13th of the season, to be honest.
Yeah. That seems crazy, but...
You know what I mean? That's where I go back to. Is the Boyd or Flano? But you know what I mean? But this is what it is.
Hey, it is what it is right now. Okay, let's go now to hooker. Damien Cook. Oh, yeah, it is Damien Cook versus Wade Egan. Cook's kind of dropped off, hasn't he?
Yeah.
In the last.
He's been good.
Yeah.
But not Wade Egan good.
Yeah. He's a good player. I actually see. I wonder if they're going to do that little ball playing lock roll that he does, and just see if that has an impact.
Possible, bro. Very possible. Yeah. I'll be curious to see if that ever plays out the way. But from what I've seen, what we tried to do that once and it didn't really work out. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Cookie's been good for the Dragons this year. I think the experience he's brought has helped them a ton. I think Jacob Little's the big the smoke screen there. He's so lethal.
Yeah, Little's good, man. Okay, let's get to the edges now. We got Leka Halasima versus Luciano Leilua. Damn. That's a good little battle there. Tempted to go Leilua based on his output, attacking output. Not that Leka's dipped heavily. He had that HIA and that just messed with things. Maybe as a starter, he has a bit of flow and things work out a bit better. What would you say, Ash?
Again, like if we're going season base, I got Leka this season so far. But Luch on his day is so tough to handle. You know, this is where we have these discussions, right? So I'll chuck Leka in there because I think Leka's had the better season in general. Like if anyone was to ask, like anyone in the rugby league, would you rather have Luciano or Leka Alasima? They'll choose Leka. So I'm going Leka. But this is not discrediting Luch on his day. He's damaging and he's so key to that left side shape. When he runs that block shape there, he's lethal.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I was watching it on the weekend actually against the Sharks. Even then it was good. Okay, Marata versus Hamish Stewart. Maybe surely we got to give them one edge player, or was Hamish Stewart Kaka? Marata's not playing the greatest either. But
honestly, what I'll do, bro, is put Luciano Leilua on the other edge because I think Hamish Stewart is not an edge back rower. He's a 13 or a middle forward. He's a good player, very, very good player, Stewart. And Ratani Kore has had an up and down year for us. He's showed some good moments to where a lot of people would be like, yeah, this is why we have him. And he showed other moments where it's like, okay, there's been a little things where we do need to start looking for the future at some point as well. But, I think Luch and Leka would be the best duo there.
Yep. Okay, let's go now. Interchange. This is a good battle. So Sam Healy, EIT, Dimitrik, and Tanisdale Smith versus Little, Molo, Sele, and Pacific Tonga. Wow. It's kind of this would be a real interesting battle. So obviously Little would be would be that first selection, I'm saying.
Little's the first cable to rank, 100%. And again, this goes back to Sam Healy's still really young. His potential is incredible, and we all know this.
But currently,
at the moment,
working with
Little is a very, very good hooker, and people that don't know will figure it out this weekend. But in the future, I think Healy will become a better hooker. But anyway, moving to the rest of it, I think that we've got to have Dimitrik and Loco.
Yeah, Dimitri Locko is in there. Yep. I'll go.
And then I would probably swing the way of Molo and Tanisdale Smith is 50-50 for me. It's so 50-50. Because Michael Molo has been in and out of lineups. We had him at the Warriors for a little period too. Just never could crack us, and he's had an okay year there for the Dragons, but hasn't been just this massive standout. Tanner's had some really good moments in his young career. I think he'll become the better player out of the two. So,
what about we go Hamseli? No, Ham's been dropped off. Not playing well.
Yeah, he's had injury problem. Oh, go Hamasele. Yeah, go Hamasele. Yeah, that'll be the go.
Okay, we'll give them a bit more credit. There you have it, guys. Look, there was a bit of a battle between Boyd and Flanagan. Boyd and Flanagan equals Floyd.
We just combined them. Floyd.
Flanagan and Floyd. Just morph them together. Hopefully that gets you a better half. Buchanan kind of was with CNK. We can give Buchanan that. What was that little? Yeah, the forward pack seems like we dominated pretty much. But their bench looks pretty good. 3 of their bench players. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 11 versus 6. But there it is, people. That's your combined 17. Don't think that team's absolutely destroying anyone, but it should be you got Gutherson at the back there. You got there's a bit of something there, but
bit of something. Yeah. On their day, it's an on their day team, right?
It's
on their day they can cause you troubles, but
but not a consistent.
Yeah.
No, good little
especially
battle.
Not at the moment.
Yep. We'll leave that there, people. We'll just get out of that screen there. Okay. So, Ash, man, we come to our score prediction section. This is where we give our thoughts. And, man, I'm not very good at this. I can't give you. But I got a weird feeling. This is one of those weird ones where we actually blow them out. And I know that's not going to possibly happen, but I just feel like we need another game where we just have that comfortable win. I
Mm,
harken back to the Knights versus the um, at Anzac round where it just felt
yep.
safe. There's been other games where it felt like safe. I don't
The
think it's going to happen, but
Tigers.
Tigers, yeah, that one's like they're not coming back. I just need one of those games. I don't think it's going to go that way, but I would love for it just to be a 16-point win or something like that. Yeah, I just feel the boys are a little bit on empty. It might be another close one. The
Yeah.
close ones are killing me, man. I just can't bear it at the moment. But what have you got, Ash? Where are you sitting right now?
We're definitely we're dragging the chain, and again, like when we say all this too, guys, like again, people are just going to claim I'm making excuses, but a team that's running without Mitch Barnett, uh, Luke Metcalf, like we are scraping home because we are hitting somewhat at the bottom of the barrel in some areas. We're putting
Yeah,
Chance into center, Taines back at fullback. We're playing Lecker for longer than what we really should have this season. There's stuff like that, but that's the way it's got to go for a side like us, and we can definitely get this one done. I think it's like as I kind of touched on before. The worry for me is definitely that right edge defensively on that left edge shape. That's something that the Dragons do get to quite often, and they love to attack down that side. So we need a big job from those boys there, and I think they can be up for it. So I'm going to go with us a win because I think this is a line in the sand. We need to win this game for me. I think this
absolutely.
is one of those three games coming up where this is our do or die for staying in the top 8 in general. We need to win at least 2 of these games for me to be like, okay, I can breathe a sigh of relief. One game more than likely keeps us in the 8. 2 games definitely keep us in the 8. So that's all we want to be thinking about. So I'm going to go a 24-16 type of game. I think it's going to be fairly close. I think that we will find a little bit of momentum in some areas. The Dragons do at times have errors in them, and they can find themselves in flat spots as well, and they can lose themselves a game when it comes close. And I think we were able to do that as well. We just need a big output from our boys over the weekend, and we got class still in that lineup to do so. So I've got trust in the boys, but it's going to be a tough fucking game, bro. It really is. So strap yourselves in. It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, it is going to be a tight one. Just that, look, that 4-pack, a lot of the 4-packs that have been coming to Mount Smart, they're not the best in the comp, but if they get in that grind and fight with us, look, I saw the Titans outgrind us, the Dolphins outgrinded us. Teams are outgrinding us because they see there's that chink in that armor. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
imagining it's going to be yeah. I'd love for that, that one where we get a 16-point win, but realistically, it's going to be a very tight game.
Yeah.
So let's just hope, man. But yeah, I'm thinking we're in for a fight. We're in for a massive fight. And the
And
thing is though, we need to draw that line in the sand though. We need this game. Just get this one, and we'll feel like that top 8 is almost not almost, but close to being like we're locked in.
And it feels downright because we are on a 3-game skid by, the form guide, right? But, the Dolphins game was a real, if we won that one, like we pulled that out, just those little extra minutes of just a little bit more effort, we could have came out of that and we could have been a little bit more of a breathing room coming to this week where we're having these discussions, right? And it's not so much down on our side. And I gave us a plus performance in that one. I was pretty happy with what we did there, just unfortunately got beaten on the bell. We got beaten by a top 4 side over the weekend, so people should remember that. That's a very good
Yeah,
side, the Dogs. The
very
Dogs,
good.
if they played the Dragons this weekend, more than likely they're going to come out with a very close win. They're going to really choke out this side. So, coming into this one, not to feel amazingly confident over the weekend, but I think we still got enough about us to end up getting a win this weekend. But we also should give respect to the Dragons of what they're kind of coming home with and what they're doing. So it was a tough game at Wollongong. Hopefully, when we scrape by with a win there, hopefully bringing them back home, we got a little bit more energy in our legs, and our crowd can really cheer us home here.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thank you everyone so far. We've got 63 likes on our stream at the moment. Can you guys please hit that like button? We're on our way to 100 now. Hopefully, we can get there by the end of things, although we're coming close to the end. Um, let's move now, man, into the Wahine. They go back to back,
Woo!
and they look fantastic, didn't they?
Yep.
Things are looking a lot better for them. Did you get a chance to catch this one, Ash,
I
or you're a bit
did. I did.
late?
I watched the
Yep.
full game, bro. Walked in straight in, sat down right, got real close seats to the game too. So
Yeah.
before the rain started to come down and we moved ourselves back. But brother, I couldn't be more proud of Baba Hines right out. Like that's a tough
Yeah.
doggies outfit, and we got that done, and we did that convincingly out there. It was great.
Yeah, it was crazy how convincingly. What do you put it down to? They look a little bit fitter, or Ron's gotten the rotations right. Lautiti, Harata Butler off the bench looks much better. Patricia and Curtin, man, that was one of Curtin's best games, and you're probably seeing why he's gone with Curtin now as that seven. What do you put it down to, man?
So there's a multitude of things, right? It kind of ties back into the men's game as well. Wet weather footy, you have to start hot. You got to start and punch a team in the mouth as early as possible. First scoring is usually a very big thing in wet weather footy because a lot of the time you're protecting leads, and sometimes momentum's so hard to shift another way just because of the bounce of the ball. You know, it's wet out there. You have errors coming to the game, and I think at the Wahines played a really good wet weather game here. And like the doggies girls, like we came out there, we punched in the mouth early with a couple of early tries. You know, the dogs girls tried to find their way into the contest with a little bit of, maybe some fancy ball work, some things getting turned over in the wrong positions. And now Wahine is through defense and just smashing girls and just, we did it the way that I think the Wahines want to be known as a culture is smash, bash, and crash over the try line. And I think we're doing that very, very well to full effect. We don't have to look silky but there's been moments where we started to look a little bit more silkier, which is great to see.
Yeah, and the wingers, and I know Michaela breaks something's happened. We don't want to speculate on that, but Tyra Whitted, man, she actually she
Bro,
grabbed that the crossfield kick from Curtin, grabbed it off the winger and scored. She had some nice finishing. Both wingers looked really, really good, man. What do you make of her? Is she? I know it's crazy to think she'll take break spot. I don't think she will, but she's putting up her hand for in terms of finishing. Like she can finish, good quality ball that she's been given.
yeah, she's unreal, bro. She for her size and stature and that, she gets through as much work as she can, and she finds herself in all those great positions as a winger should do. Holds her width in attack, and gets over the try line because she sniffs it out. So, very very happy for her to get her debut in back-to-back games. She had some really solid performances out there. Great under the high ball there too, which was great to see. And again, as you said, I couldn't see her holding out Michaela, but she was unreal. She was very, very good in this game. And it was so good to see her celebrate, her big double there because she was a major part in this win.
Yeah, and then Patricia as well. Like Patricia just looks so good. The goal
Bro.
kicking you're seeing is going to be massive. I think their goal kicking is going to get us some wins, man. Like some close ones, create some distance. She
hmm
strikes the ball so well, man. But yeah, she's starting to really find her own even more now. Yeah, what do you make of Patricia, man?
Unreal, bro. She's like my favorite women's player right now, other than my wife's cousin when she does play, and when she's not playing. Patricia, you're right up there. Like she is
Yeah,
incredible to watch, bro. We're so lucky to have her. Her skill set's just so high for NRLW levels. As you said, her goal kicking's incredible. Like, it's a pleasure to watch her. Like, her scoring a double in this game from her running game as well. She can do it in any different facet of the game, and she only can get better from here, which is the scary thought for NRLW girls.
the thing is, like, I saw a forward pack that was just way too physical. Um,
Mm.
and there was one, I think, Lao Titi. Not, yeah. Well, expected. You heard that right. Uh, Ivana, I should call it Ivana, I think. Um, she drew in four tacklers or whatever, quick play the ball, and they went left, and there was the winger was like right next to the goalpost. There was like a 5-man overlap, and I think Patricia went over. But it's like, are we actually a power? Are we like a powerhouse footy team that plays big girl footy? Like, we're gonna smash you through the middle. And now the ball's getting out quicker. You can see like the movements are getting quicker. They're identifying where the space is. Do you think that's actually the way we should move forward? And I know a lot of the teams would probably mix that in with like hard worker type forwards that have good leg speed. But it seems like, man, we've got these big boppers. No disrespect to our girls, but
Yep.
they can bang and they can mix it up with probably the men, if actually. But
Mm-hmm.
do you think that's the way to go and how Ron's using them?
100%, bro. Like you look across it, like our starting rotation there of Fotu Mawala and Kitsai. Start off the game, they start off red hot, bring momentum. Then off the bench, bro, I thought Harata Butler was incredible against the Cowboys. Like
She
she
was
really,
great.
and then she took it another level in this game as well. She was unbelievable. She's hit a really good vein of form right now. Laotii as well, like just she has been such a great find for us right now. Like she has just
She's
gone
killing it.
bang bang, absolutely murdering it. Shout out to Gray as well. Like she can
Crazy.
bang
Yeah.
like that shot she put off on the weekend. My God, I stood up out of the seat. I was loving it, bro. It was so cool to see. Leishon in the middle as well. She can put a nice shot on herself. Like it's a scary forward pack when you look at it. Really, at the end of the day, for NRLW, and as you said, yeah, I believe it. We need to have like this is our culture now. I reckon this is where we should be. Is we're going to hit hard, we're going to run hard, and we're just going to score tries the hard way. Straight through the middle of the defense. I think we're going to do it that way. I'm very very excited to see the future of it.
Yeah, man, that's good. And guys, they're coming up against the in Hamilton this weekend. Unfortunately, I've got a gig booked for the same night. I have my tickets, but I can't make it, so I'm gonna have to go to the next one. But they're coming up against the Raiders. Raiders kind of struggled a little bit, eh? They kind of
Yeah,
haven't.
you'd probably say they're the worst NRLW side in the competition right now,
Yeah,
even though they've got really good talent in their side. It baffles me to see them the way they are, but I guess
they
there's got to
are
be
right
one
now.
team in
Yeah,
the competition that struggles, and unfortunately it's them. They've got a lot of talent there, so they can definitely scare us on our day, but yeah, they're not running too crash hot at the moment.
the girl, but just be careful. The girls need to just sort of take that and play consistent footy. I think they're rounding out really well. Like I'm impressed with what Ron's able to do with them. Again, these guys are part time. They train
Yeah.
when they finish work, but their fitness levels just looked up a bit. Like even Harata's looking rounded. Curtin looks a bit sharper. Like she was looking sluggish, and then but let's build off that again this weekend. Um, okay, guys, just actually on 75 likes, if there's 25 people can get us to 100, we really appreciate that right now. Please hit that like button. And other news, the New South Wales Cup got over the line on the Bulldogs. That was at a different location, eh?
Yeah.
Sorry, Leichhardt
Yes.
Oval.
Yes. It was at Leichhardt Oval. Yeah, it got moved.
Yeah, Tanner Boyd killed it with 5 out of 6 conversions. Seal Cully again, just crazy. Toby Crosby, Setu 2, getting over the line. I mean, they're still maintaining and they sealed that minor premiership, which is great. It is actually really cool. It's actually
Yep.
awesome to see that, our depth players have a level of professionalism. They're trained well by Tanga Toa, who's a good coach too. And
Mhm.
but yeah, what did you make of this one? Any chance you caught this match?
Yeah, definitely caught it, bro. Me and Brody and his missus, Caitlin, we were sitting at some dumpling restaurant in Chinatown, watching this on our phones, getting ready to go to the big game as well.
Yeah,
It was a back and forth game. We had to come back in multiple positions from this one to get this one done. Sierra Carly didn't start out the game too red hot, and he came home strong, obviously with the two big ones to finish us off there. Toby Crosby with a nice effort there, close to the line. He was incredible. Kalani going with a bit of speed too after that line break as well. The first try we had, didn't see that out of him, but I'm just very impressed with what Jet Cleary and Tanner Boyd were able to combine with this weekend. Jet's just continuing to do very, very well. So it's just great to see a lot of the talent still going up a level. And I'm keen to see more out of it on our run home. I'm keen to see if we go the route of blooding in some of our young kids in from Flegg to New South Wales Cup for the run home, just to get them a little bit of taste of playing with men for the years upcoming, or if we're just going to continue just to run home with what we have. Just to think of resting up a couple of legs there towards the end of the run home for New South Wales Cup, which would be great to see. Like I'm looking at Brendan Norris's, I'm looking at Patuko, I'm looking at Ratcliffe. Any of these boys that can get the time in that New South Wales Cup could actually help their development. I think for playing around men, I reckon that'll be awesome.
yeah, that'd be really interesting to see actually. The the Bulldogs jersey flag got over ours.
Mm,
You mentioned they're actually quite of a high quality Bulldogs outfit
yeah.
at the jersey flag level, so not too far off to say that it was a difficult one. But Moi Moi got a try at Norris and Utoi. What do you make of that performance? And again, credit to the boys; they're still working on their craft. But yeah, what did you make of that?
Yeah, both these flag sides have kind of been, battered with like, a couple of things of New South Wales Cup, kind of pinching a lot of their players. Obviously, everyone knows Mitch Woods is the doggies, number 7 coming through the grades. He started off in flag. He's moved up to New South Wales Cup this year. Same with our end with Jet Cleary starting off and moving up. But Jack Thompson filling in that role has done a really good job. I don't know if anyone saw any of the highlights of Potoko playing in 6 jersey as well. Actually put off some silky skills. He looks like a kid that's going to really have a lot about him in the future. I'm very excited to see the future out of him. Brendan Norris continues to do what he does. And shout out to Patrick Moi Moi as well, a guy that's been highly touted around the club for a little bit now. He's just come back off injury a couple of times this year. He's been moved to an edge back row position in this game and had a lot of really good moments to continue to watch out for. He's a very, very talented player. So excited to see if we can bounce back after this one. As I said, the Dogs is a decent development system in their flag. I think they're sitting 5th or 6th at the moment. So, our boys, we are sitting 11th, but due to just, players mixing and matching, going up to Cup due to filling positions from Cup players going to first grade. So the boys have done a really good job there, I believe.
Is that actually the end of the season? I'm looking at the
Um,
ladder here.
just double
Oh
checking,
no, that's
sorry.
probably maybe that's wrong. Oh no, no, that oh wait there. Maybe I was in the wrong competition. Oh no, they're still
No,
going.
so three games left. Yeah, so not too long left. It doesn't look like we'll probably be playing finals in flag this year. But still good to see the little bit of talent that we have there. Like I'm loving that we changed Potoko into a 6 because he loved to play fullback, and we had that postponed game with the Dragons too. So maybe there is an opportunity for us to make finals in it, but it might be a little bit too far out because we played the Panthers on the run home there too, and they're a great flag side.
Yeah, man. Well, anyway, there's some more footy for everyone to watch, so don't go too far away from that. But mate, Ash, thank you for a massive show. Appreciate your input. Appreciate everyone
Thank
in
you,
the
brother.
chat too. It was a good chat. It was a crazy chat, in terms of, we had some different views, which was good. I think the more the team lose, obviously everyone starts to really hone in on certain areas. We're hoping that we can just see a bit of that balance. I'm actually really excited for this weekend.
Yeah, same.
And short turnaround too. At these games, you can probably say actually those early rounds, like we had our 3 buys, we got the best out of that time frame.
Yep.
We're in a run of 8 games now. It's getting a little bit harder. There's always going to probably be a drop off. But look, we're sitting in 5th, man. Let's go. Let's see if we can hold it. Let's
Exactly.
not give it up and go into 8th. Like let's hold 5th. I think SJ and Cooper Cronk were talking about that. Just hold 5th, maintain it. Get a few wins. Broncos are out with their halves now. That's benefit to us. So yeah, I'm pretty still pumped, man, for the weekend.
Well, let's be honest, bro. Like, with our boys, even at the team list we named over the weekend, there's still a lot of class in that lineup there. So if we
Absolutely.
play to our potential there, we should be able to get the win, these wins that we need on the run home to keep us within the 8 and keep us into a final series. Even though it's going to be a tough run, I still believe in the boys. And I think that, again, going back to it, I think that we're making all the right decisions at the club and like shouldn't be disputed that we've had such a great year this year. Like we still have had such a great year and we're not going away just yet. So I'm very, very proud of where we're at and I'm very excited to see the challenge this weekend and see what we can do against a Dragons outfit that's willing to spoil the party again and continue on their win streak. But I think the boys will be up for this one.
Are you going to Seabus next week?
I'm gonna try to. Yeah, we're trying to get tickets together. Me and Lockie. Shout out to Lockie, that everyone knows Lockie in my YouTube chat. He's one of my best mates. He's a Titans fan and an absolute grub when the Titans start winning.
Is that GT?
Nah, GT's a
that's
Dolphins fan, bro. Shout out to
He's
GT.
Dolphins, yeah.
Dolphins Warriors and Lockie just loves to he's a biggest troll you ever meet, mate, but he's the loveliest bloke. So Hopefully, if I go with him, that we don't lose by 60 again, because he will never let me live that down. He's not let me live down the last one, so it's been fairly annoying. So hopefully we get a good win there.
Look, man, it's I think was it 1, 2, 3, 4 games, right? Yeah, man, it's really coming down to the wire right now. But guys, please, yeah, hit that like. We're on 77, man. If you help us get that 20 more, whatever, if you can hit before we head out, hit that door, hit that like. Ash, thank you so much, man. I know you're tired. I think I'm tired too, but we like the players, man. We're on fumes. We've had massive fatigue sitting in on stream. But no, man. We appreciate you coming in straight from your trips. Anyway, you traveling every weekend now, or are you having a break? What's happening?
Yeah, having a break. Like again, like if we go to Seabass, I'm not going to be traveling down the Gold Coast for the weekend, but it'll be for the game in general. It's not too far of a trip, but I think that's all my big trips that have been set and gone right now. I had a good year, bro. Sydney to New Zealand to Sydney again. It's been a real fun time. So hopefully next year we can get it cracking all over again and meet up in New Zealand for a little bit longer. Maybe I could do a 2-piece New Zealand weekend if we go back-to-back home games. Right. I reckon that'll be awesome.
You have to do it. But man, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Going, guys. Yeah, we'll be here on Friday. I've got the watch along. I'll be doing a watch along, so come along to that. I'm doing a pre-record with Uncle Josh tomorrow, so we'll see what Uncle Josh has to say. He'll spin it. He'll spin it away to make you laugh. So check a bit of that content coming out. But Ash, what do you got? You got RL26 stuff coming up. You got stream tomorrow night.
Yeah, obviously I've taken a little bit of a break due to just traveling to Sydney and all that sort of stuff, guys. So we'll get back on the horse on that. Probably on Thursday, I'll try and either do a live stream or put up a video. Tomorrow night, me and Brody got down unders, as far as I know. Do keep an eye out on my channel. I do post up on the community page if that doesn't or not. It's due to a public holiday, whether, we want to do the big lift on a public holiday or not. But we'll wait and see, guys. But keep an eye on the channel. I will post up my vlog, my little short vlog of us going to Sydney. So that will come up soon. I just got to do some voice recordings for it. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy all that.
Yeah, definitely do, bro. It's good stuff. Okay, guys, stay safe. Much love as always. We'll see you guys on Friday. Up the waz.
Up the waz.
Peace out.